Hello, everyone. It's your main man, Sports Live. We were going to do this broadcast at another time, but I feel now would be just as appropriate to do this because we are in the heart of basketball season, and there are other things that I'm working on and that you'll be hearing about in the coming days. And I just wanted to go ahead and do this last broadcast regarding the introduction to basketball. So here it goes. We will talk about today on this one lingo that you're going to hear on and off the basketball court for offense and defense. We're going to talk a little bit about basically positions on the basketball court and a little bit of history of the game of basketball, including the original rules when the game was actually invented. And it's a lot different than what the rules are now based on what I've already gone over with you. So, with that being said, also, if you will, please like my channel, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you can get all notifications for whenever I post a video or when I go live. It would be greatly appreciated. With that being said, let's go. Things you will hear in the lingo area for offense and defense. In the offensive area, we'll start with, you hear what is called pick and roll. It involves two players. One player has ball, begins to dribble toward other player. The second player sets a pick or a screen like an immovable individual wall. As the player goes by the pick, the player who sets it up rolls toward the basket. Defense can go with it, or if they do not, the player can drive to the basket. It doesn't matter, but it can, on how they score on that. But if the defense goes with you, you just go with it. If the defense doesn't follow you and stuff, it can set that person up for a wide open shot. And normally, if that wide open shot occurs, it's usually going to be unaided, unassisted, and most likely will be going in the basket unless you're heavily defended. Next is what they call give and go. Give and go is when the player has the ball, they pass to team member, then runs over toward the basket or open space with a burst of speed. It is then passed to the original player who started playing, and then that person does what they're going to do with it, whether to try to drive the ball toward the basket, shoot it, or they may even pass it to someone else. Next is the defender. The defender has to watch and react quickly when this give and go occurs because it can lead to a layup or a wide open shot. Posting up is done by big guys down low. Forwards or centers make move that leads to a jump shot or for them to make a hook shot. A hook shot is literally where you shoot the ball usually on one foot as you're probably falling back and you're using your arm and you kind of tilt yourself at an angle kind of like that. And those hook shots are very difficult to make if you're under coverage, and depending on what kind of play that you might make, you don't want to do a hook shot unless you know for sure that it's most likely going to go in. But a lot of times with hook shots, if they're done that way, if the defense is trying to keep this ball from going in, you will see it to where it happens a lot to where goaltending may occur. And I'll go over that. I think I've already gone over that to where if the ball has gone up, you can block it while the ball's going up. But if the ball's on the downward flight toward the basket or hits the top of the rim, you can't knock it away. Otherwise, it's goaltending. So with that shot, goaltending is likely to occur if the defenders aren't paying attention. A fast break is where where you beat the other team down the court to shoot a layup or a dunk. It generally is started by a steal or a strong, quick pass down the court. A lot of your impressive monster jams or slam dunks you'll see come from stuff like that. And you don't even have to have a steal and stuff. You can just have a defender who's paying attention, wide open, gets down the court real quick. The guy passes to you from way down the court, and you just lay it in as a dunk or a layup, depending on what you're wanting to do. Now, there are two types of defense that goes on during games. And these will interchangeably depending on the circumstance at hand. Just because you see this one time when defense is playing down the field doesn't mean it's going to always be like that. And you might see one or the other or a combination of both in any form or fashion at any given time. And it's not necessarily that you're going to see it all the whole time, because you could be playing one position or one aspect of what I'm about to tell you and then suddenly change it depending on what you see on the court. But the first one is called man to man. It's where each player is covering one player on the other team, and you stay with them and do everything you can to prevent them from scoring, as long as you're following the rules and you're not trying to foul. Zone defense is different. Certain players have designated areas of the floor to defend, and it doesn't necessarily matter what person gets in that area. You're responsible for that zone on the floor. And you'll notice in that situation, sometimes it means that you're defending against multiple people at the same time, or the same person, just depending on what they're doing. Okay, other things or lingo you may hear during a game. Double team. Double team is when a player has the ball. The opposing team has two defenders covering the player with ball, doing everything they can to keep player with ball from passing, dribbling, or even taking a shot. You'll see that a lot when the game is close, and sometimes you just see it just because they want to fill you out and see what you're capable of. This could happen early in the game or late in the game, but it's more common late in the game. Next is what they call a tray. A tray is what they call a three-point shot when it is successful. Block city, you do hear that from time to time, but it's basically when a player is consistently blocking shots from opponents. It's like, you don't know where they're going to be on the floor, but most likely they're going to end up blocking a lot of shots. And you do see that from time to time. Next is what they call a dagger. A dagger is a shot that takes place at a pivotal part of the game, and it's usually in the last few seconds, and something like that can silence the crowd. Say, for instance, if you're down by one score, by 3 points, you got 5 seconds or less to go in the game. Your team then scores a basket or makes it 6 points, makes it very hard to come back from that. Normally when they say dagger, it's usually very late in the game, and it's going to be almost next to impossible to come back from behind at that point. And usually you would have to be up by more than 6 in order for that to be called when you make that shot. And it's one way to silence a rowdy crowd. Dropping dimes is used when a player is using fancy passes or just showing off with how they're passing the ball to one another. Airball is when shot attempt is made where it does not hit rim or backboard. And in a lot of arenas, when you see that happen, it's not uncommon for fans to go, air ball, air ball. It's just the crowd's way of making fun of the fact that you can't hit the rim of the basket. A brick is when player shoots a shot and misses the basket off of the rim. Next is a term called nothing but net. Nothing but net is a shot that is made that does not touch the rim or backboard as it goes through the bottom of the net through the basket, and you'll usually hear a swish sound when this happens. An alley-oop is when player throws ball high towards the basket and teammate catches the ball while in the air and delivers a slam dunk. And sometimes those dunks are very powerful, and sometimes they're just showing off. And some of them in the older days when the rims weren't made as well would literally break the backboard. And yes, the glass would rain down on you and stuff. An assist is when a player passes ball to teammate who is wide open, and that teammate shoots the shot and makes a basket. That's an assist. Box out is where you position yourself between the basket and opponent to obtain a rebound during a shot. Next is what they call double-double. Double-double is when players record two statistical figures in double digits. An example of a double-double would be 10 points, 11 assists. The paint, you'll hear that referred to a lot. It's referred to the area on a court that extends from the baseline under the basketball to the free throw line. And it's referred this way because for whatever reason, the paint there is always different color from the rest of the court. Maybe not necessarily even different color. It could be a darker shade of the paint. It could be a lighter shade of the paint. Something that is distinctly different about that area that is different from the rest of the court. A triple-double, you don't hear that very much, but sometimes you'll hear it at the collegiate level or the NBA level. You'll hear it more there than you will anything else, but it can happen at any level. But a triple-double is when a player records 3 statistical figures in double digits, often thought of as a great achievement in a game since it really doesn't happen very often. An example of triple-double would be 25 points scored, 13 assists, and 10 rebounds. Now, you can do a thing called a quadruple-double, but quadruple-doubles are even more rare and even more of a greater achievement, and it's when you have 4 statistical elements in double digits. So an example would be 20 points, 12 rebounds, 10 assists, and 10 blocks. Okay, next is what they call buzzer beater. Buzzer beater is when a shot is usually taken at the end of a game, half, or quarter. It is shot before the buzzer sounds. Now, you can have a buzzer beater, in the early part of the game in those levels that have a shot clock, and the same rule applies. Basically, you shoot the ball, and it's in flight toward the basket. While it's in flight toward the basket, the buzzer sounds. The ball goes in basket, and a score is made. It has to be started just before the final buzzer sounds and can go in while the buzzer's going off or even after the buzzer goes off. But if it goes in and they establish that you release the ball before the buzzer sounded, it will count. That's what's called a buzzer beater. I've seen it to where people do that for 3-point shots, for long shots, for just a regular 2-point shot. I've even seen slam dunk ones where one has that circumstance happen and they dunk the ball to either tie the game or win the game, and it happens literally at the buzzer. Now, with a dunk, the ball has to be in the person's hands and in the rim for the basket when the buzzer sounds in order for it to count. So that's the only exception to buzzer beaters with a dunk. Next is what they call downtown, or sometimes way downtown, depending on how far back it is. But it literally is when someone makes a shot that is usually behind the 3-point line and very unlikely to make, regardless of the distance and stuff. So sometimes it can be even a very long 2-point shot. It usually would be a 3-point shot. And say, for instance, you're going for a shot, you get fouled. Of course, it might not be called. You got defenders all over the place. You're being double teamed, and you take a shot and make it from beyond 3-point lands. They'll say from downtown because it's unlikely you'll make the shot, but you make the shot. All right. Next up is a fadeaway. A fadeaway is when one makes a jump shot while falling backwards through the air. Typically would happen when you're making a shot near the out-of-bounds line. You take the shot, and you're falling backwards. The ball releases your hand, and while the ball's still in flight, you fall backwards, and you may fall out of bounds, but the shot counts because you were in bounds when it happened. There's a term you don't hear a lot unless they're just scoring a lot of points. It's called making it rain. No, I'm not referring to anything bad with this. It literally is when a player is making shots. They can't miss a shot no matter where they're taking it. So they're making shots inside, they're making shots outside, they're making 3-point shots. They're making shots with their eyes closed and on one hand, or they're hopping on one foot. No, those are just examples, but they're making shots and you don't know how they're making all of them, but they're not missing any of their shots they're taking. An and it generally would mean sinking shots from seemingly out of nowhere. There's a term called sixth man. The sixth man is the one player who reliably replaces one of the starters as a sub. They'll come in and out of the game depending on what's going on. And that sixth man is like part of your starting five, but instead of being on the starting five, they'll sub in and out according to what's going on, and they're just as reliable as your starting five. Usually your sixth man could be one or two different people that come off the bench to do that, or it could be just one person. And no, there's not six people on a court on one side at any time. You have five people on offense and defense. That sixth man is just a term they use for the interchangeable sub that comes in and plays like a starter, even though he's not. All right, next we have is going to be just general things about positions. In the game of basketball, positions are not determined in the rules. The only thing that positions are good for is strategy. So with that being said, let's keep that in mind. First, you have the small forward, and that person is often the most versatile player on the team. They help with ball handling. They make an outside shot. They get rebounds. They make for a great defensive player as well. And they can defend they can basically play a number of different positions just depending on what's going on at the time. Let's see. Usually this person would take on your best shooter on the other team. And sometimes they call them wing players. Next is your power forward, is the biggest or tallest member of team, can usually score a lot of points inside, but also good with rebounds and shot blocking. You have what is called the center. The center is usually the strong rebounder and shot blocker, can score points, but main role is to provide clear path to basket when being heavily defended. Next, you have what is called point guard. The point guard is your team leader and play caller on the basketball court. You know who the point guard is because when they're inbounding the ball, they're dribbling the ball down the court, they will signal usually with one of their hands while they're dribbling with the other ball what the play might be. And it's usually going to be it's just going to be arm extended, and they'll signal whatever the play is. And basically, you know what the play is based off of the number or the signal that is provided from that. And it can vary from team to team on how they do that. Point guards also need to have good ball handling skills, passing skills, strong leadership, and decision-making skills. Just because a play is called doesn't necessarily mean that play is going to stay the same the whole way through. That person that is playing the point guard position has to be like a quarterback on the football team to make decisions according to what's being seen. And if things need to be changed, do so, even if it's within the play itself. Next is your shooting guard. They have main responsibility of making long outside shots, including three-point shots. Need to be good passer and help point guard with ball handling. Usually that person will be your top scorer on your team. Yeah. Okay, next is the last position is the center. The center is usually a strong rebounder and shot blocker, can score points, but main role is to provide clear path to basket when being heavily defended. I think I already mentioned that. All right. Now that we've gone over basically certain rules within the game, we've gone over different lingo and stuff. I want to go over a little bit of history of basketball. And with that, it also includes the original rules for when basketball was invented. Basketball was invented by James Naismith in the winter of 1891. And the rules, that was just your little history, 1891. But the rules I'm about to go over are not modern rules. I've already gone over a lot of the modern rules, but the rules that I'm going over are the original rules for when the game originally came out. Rule 1, The ball may be thrown in any direction with one or both hands. Number 2, the ball may be batted in any direction with one or both hands, but never with the fist. Number 3, a player cannot run with the ball. The player must throw it. Let's see. Bench players are. Oh wait, yeah. Number 3, from the spot on which he catches it, allowance is to be made for a man who catches the ball when running around at a good speed if he tries to stop. Number 4, the ball must be held in or between the hands. The arms or body must not be used for holding it. Number 5, no shouldering, holding, pushing, tripping, or striking in any way. The person of an opponent shall be allowed the first infringement of this rule by any player shall count as a foul. The second shall disqualify him until the next goal is made, or if there was evident intent to injure the person for the whole of the game. And if this happens, no substitute is allowed. Number 6, a foul is striking at the ball with the fist, or any violations of rules 3, 4, and such of what I mentioned in Rule 5. Number 7, if either side makes 3 consecutive fouls, it shall count a goal for the opponents. Consecutive means without the opponents in the meantime making a foul on their own. Number 8, a goal shall be made when the ball is thrown or batted from the ground into the basket and stays there, providing those defending the goal do not touch or disturb the goal. If the ball rests on the edge and the opponent moves the basket, it shall count as a goal. Number 9, when the ball goes out of bounds, it shall be thrown into the field of play by the person first touching it. In case of dispute, the umpire shall throw it straight into the field. The thrower in is allowed 5 seconds. If he holds it longer, it shall go to the opponents. If any side permits in delaying the game, the umpire shall call a foul on that side. The umpire shall be the judge of the men and shall note the fouls and notify the referee when 3 consecutive fouls have been made. He shall have power to disqualify men according to Rule 5. Number 11, the referee shall be judge of the ball and shall decide when the ball is in play, in bounds to which side it belongs, and shall keep the time. He shall decide when a goal has been made and keep account of the goals with any other duties that are usually performed by a referee. Number 12, the time shall be 2 15-minute halves with 5 minutes rest between. Number 13, the side making the most goals in that time shall be declared the winner. In case of a draw, the game may, by agreement of the captains, be continued until another goal is made. Yeah, so there you go. There is more stuff on the rules regarding that. There are a couple of other things I failed to mention earlier when I was talking about lingo. I'll go over those real quick. You have a term called bench players. Bench players are 2 to 3 players outside of the starters that come off the bench and play when the starters may need rest or if they need to be substituted for any reason. The bench by itself refers to players not currently in game and coaches, where they sit during the game that isn't currently in the game. Waiting for their turn, players do and coaches there to lead plays or have discussions during play or timeouts. So anyway, that's the last of the broadcast regarding Basketball 101 and the introduction and stuff. If you will, please subscribe to my channel. Please hit the like button. Please hit the notification bell so you'll know when I'm going live or when I have any other videos. We will have other broadcasts in the coming days, and I'll let y'all know as soon as they come available and whatnot. I do hope you have a good rest of your evening, and I hope that you achieve everything that you want to today. With that being said, peace out.